All right, so you want to level up your English with audiobooks and podcasts, huh?
Sounds like it.
Smart move. We've got a whole stack of articles here
Oh, wow.
that dig into why that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Plus, they've got some solid recommendations for all levels.
Okay.
Beginner, intermediate, advanced, the whole 9 yards.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
What I think is really interesting about these articles is how they highlight the struggle that a lot of learners face with understanding spoken English, like in the real world.
So
Like, it's one thing to learn it in the classroom, right?
Yeah.
But then when you get out there and everyone's talking at like 1,000,000 miles a minute
Oh, yeah.
with all the slang and the accents,
Right.
it can feel like a totally different language.
Almost like everybody's speaking in code.
Yeah, exactly.
You're telling me, I remember when I first started traveling,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did somebody like fast forward my English textbook? It was like,
I was not prepared. But that's where audiobooks and podcasts can really come in, right?
Definitely.
They're kind of like that bridge between textbook English and what you're actually going to hear out in the world.
Absolutely.
Oh.
I think of it as this kind of like controlled environment
Right.
where you can get used to the natural rhythm of spoken English, but you're in control.
Yeah.
Like you can rewind, you can slow down the speed,
That's key.
really take your time to
Yeah.
process what you're hearing.
Totally.
It really addresses that feeling of overwhelm
Oh, for sure.
that I know a lot of learners have.
Like having a pause button for real life.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. And speaking of like being able to adjust things, one thing that stood out to me from these articles is how they stress the importance of listening to different accents,
Right.
even as a native speaker.
Oh, yeah.
If I haven't heard an accent in a while, it takes me a minute to adjust.
Yeah, for sure.
So the more you can expose yourself to those different accents, the
Yeah.
more confident you're going to be in understanding anyone,
Right.
anywhere.
It's like training your ear
Yeah,
for all the different flavors of English out there.
I like that analogy.
I'm stealing that one.
You got it.
So let's actually dive into some of these audiobook recommendations
Okay, yeah,
that we've got here in these articles.
great.
One thing I like is how they break it down by skill level.
Yeah,
So
really helpful.
super helpful for listeners to kind of find the right fit for them.
Right.
So let's start with the beginners out there.
Okay.
One that keeps popping up as a recommendation for beginners is English short stories for beginners,
Classic.
narrated by Raina M. Starr.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
It seems like it's a classic for a reason.
Definitely.
Like, what is it about that particular?
Well, the narration's really clear.
Uh,
The language is super simple.
mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
stories are all based on everyday situations. Right. So it's perfect for building that foundational vocabulary that you need when you're first starting out.
Now, here's one that I found surprising.
Okay.
The Lightning Thief.
Hmm.
They recommend that for beginners, too.
Yeah.
The Percy Jackson book.
Right.
Is that because it's about Greek mythology and that's kind of an easier entry point?
I think it's more about the language itself
Okay.
because it's written for like a younger audience. The vocabulary and the sentences are kept fairly simple,
Makes sense.
but it also exposes beginners to more of that casual American English and even a little bit of slang,
Right.
which you might not get in a textbook.
Okay. So sneaky educational.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
What about our intermediate learners? They're ready to level up a little bit.
For intermediate learners,
Yeah.
one of the articles suggests the Black Book of Speaking Fluent English.
Interesting.
And I think it's a really smart pick.
Egging us into the world of business English,
Okay.
which is something that often gets missed in traditional learning materials.
So like a secret weapon for navigating the corporate world?
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
And then for something completely different, we've got Sherlock Holmes, narrated by the one and only Stephen Fry.
Oh, nice.
You have me at Stephen Fry.
Yeah, he's the best.
Honestly, his voice could make a tax audit sound delightful.
Right.
But
Yeah.
on a serious note,
Right.
why is this a good pick for intermediate learners? Besides the fact that it's Stephen Fry.
I mean, come on, it's Stephen Fry. But a couple of reasons. First of all, his diction is incredible.
Okay.
You hear every consonant, every vowel,
Yeah.
beautifully articulated. And then the language in Sherlock Holmes is really rich and descriptive.
Yeah.
So it's great for expanding your vocabulary.
Right.
And then, of course, you get to immerse yourself in that classic British accent, which is always a plus.
I could listen to him read the phone book.
Me too.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm curious. What about the recommendations for advanced learners?
Okay, so for advanced learners...
These are people who are probably pretty comfortable with everyday English at this point.
Right.
But they want to, like, refine their skills even further, right?
Exactly.
Maybe work on some more niche vocabulary.
Yeah, tackle more challenging material.
Okay, so what do we got for them?
Well, one suggestion that caught my eye was Barbra Streisand's autobiography.
Oh, wow.
My Name is Barbara.
Cool.
Narrated by guess who?
Barbara herself.
Barbara herself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so...
So it's a chance to hear a Hollywood legend tell her own story in her own words.
Exactly.
So cool.
And not only is it fascinating from a cultural perspective.
Right. But it's also a great way to study the nuances of American English.
Yeah.
Especially the way someone with such a long and influential career speaks.
Totally.
You pick up on all sorts of little things.
Yeah.
You know, their intonation, their emphasis.
Right.
The rhythm of their speech.
So it's like you're getting a master class in communication from a belly.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, and then for those seeking a real challenge, there's a nonfiction book called Alchemy.
Interesting.
Narrated by the author, Rory Sutherland. It's full of really thought-provoking ideas and covers some pretty complex concepts, and his British accent is really distinct, very clear, but with a really unique rhythm and cadence.
So a good test for someone who wants to see how well they can keep up with a more nuanced style of speaking.
Exactly.
Like moving from listening to pop music to appreciating a symphony orchestra.
I love that.
Both are great, but they challenge you in different ways.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, so we've covered audiobooks. Now let's switch gears and talk about the world of podcasts.
All right, let's do it. One of the things that really stood out to me about these articles on podcasts is how they emphasize that bite-sized learning aspect.
Yeah.
You know, it's perfect for busy people.
Oh, totally.
Who might only have a few minutes here and there.
Okay.
You can squeeze in an episode on your commute while you're walking the dog, folding laundry.
It's like sneaking in a workout for your ears.
Exactly.
Without having to change into sweats.
Yeah, exactly.
But with so many podcasts out there,
I know.
Where do you even begin?
Well, the articles we've got actually do a great job of categorizing them.
Yep.
Not just by level, but by learning style and specific needs.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're struggling with pronunciation, they recommend podcasts that focus on clear diction.
Okay.
And have lots of repetition.
Got it. So it's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Yeah, exactly. What are some of their top picks for pronunciation practice?
Well, All Ears English is a popular one.
Okay.
The hosts, Lindsay and Michelle, really break down American English pronunciation, intonations, stress, rhythm.
They cover it all.
They do, and they also have transcripts available.
Oh, that's great.
So you can follow along and really see how those sounds are formed.
Especially helpful for visual learners.
Absolutely.
I also noticed they recommend Learn English with Bob the Canadian.
Oh, yeah, Bob's great.
Bob's voice is like a warm hug.
It is.
But is there something specific about his style that helps with pronunciation?
Well, he speaks slowly and clearly,
Okay.
which is great for beginners.
Yeah.
But he also really emphasizes the sounds that are often tricky for non-native speakers.
Oh, interesting.
And he's just got this really friendly and encouraging way of explaining things, so you don't feel intimidated to try.
Yeah, like having a patient and supportive coach right there in your ear. Now, what about podcasts that go beyond pronunciation and focus on things like idioms, slang, or even cultural nuances?
Real life English is a good one for that.
Okay.
They focus on teaching you to think like a native speaker, not just memorize grammar rules.
Got it.
So they cover everything from everyday expressions to slang to cultural references that you'd hear in real conversations.
So it's less about textbook English.
Yeah.
And more about understanding the way people actually use the language.
Exactly.
In different contexts. I like that.
And they have a lot of interactive elements too.
Oh, cool.
Like quizzes and challenges.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a good way to make it more engaging.
Yeah, for sure.
And help you really internalize what you're learning.
Okay, now I'm curious about something.
Yeah.
A few of these articles mention the importance of exposing yourself to different dialects of English.
Right.
And they specifically recommend a podcast called 5 Minute Convo.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
What's special about that one?
It's a great way to explore African American vernacular English,
okay,
also known as AAVE, It's a dialect spoken by many Black Americans.
Right.
And it has its own unique grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation.
So it's not just about understanding different accents.
Right.
It's about appreciating the diversity within the English language itself.
Exactly.
I love that.
And it can be really eye-opening for learners to realize that there isn't just one correct way to speak English.
Totally.
You know, it's a rich and complex language with many variations.
It's like realizing that a painting can be beautiful in many different styles.
Perfect analogy.
Now, what about learners who are interested in staying up to date on current events while they improve their English?
Yeah, there are some fantastic news podcasts out there.
Right.
One that gets consistently recommended is Simple English News Daily, or SEN7.
Right.
It's perfect for learners because they use clear, concise language and speak at a slightly slower pace than traditional news broadcasts.
So it's like getting a news briefing without feeling overwhelmed by jargon.
Exactly.
Or fast-talking reporters.
Right, and because they cover a wide range of topics, you'll naturally expand your vocabulary and learn how English is used to discuss current affairs.
And for those who prefer a deeper dive into a particular news story, there's The Daily from the New York Times.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
They choose one news story each day and really unpack it, interviewing experts, providing in-depth analysis.
It's a fantastic way to not only improve your listening comprehension, but also your critical thinking skills.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered some solid podcast recommendations.
Yeah.
But one thing that keeps coming up in these articles is the idea of going beyond language learning podcasts.
Right.
They encourage learners to explore podcasts based on their own interests.
Absolutely.
Which makes perfect sense.
It's all about making the learning process enjoyable and engaging.
Right.
If you're passionate about a topic, you're more likely to stay motivated.
So stick with it.
So if you're a history buff, you could check out podcasts about historical events.
Exactly.
If you love cooking, there are tons of food podcasts out there.
For sure.
It's about finding something that sparks your curiosity and makes you want to listen.
I think that's key.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is you're not just passively absorbing information.
Right.
You're actively engaging with something you find interesting.
Totally.
Which makes the learning process so much more effective.
It's like the difference between forcing yourself to eat your vegetables and indulging in a delicious dessert.
Perfect analogy.
So let's say you found some podcasts that you love.
Okay.
You're listening regularly, but you want to make sure you're getting the most out of it.
Right.
These articles talk a lot about active listening.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, one of the simplest yet most effective techniques is to take notes while you're listening.
Okay.
Jot down any new words or phrases that you come across, and then look them up later.
Right.
You can even create flashcards or use a language learning app to help you remember them.
So it's like creating your own personalized glossary as you go.
Exactly.
Love it.
And another really powerful technique is shadowing.
Okay.
It involves listening to a sentence or phrase and then immediately repeating it, trying to mimic the speaker's pronunciation and intonation.
Like a vocal workout.
It is.
But for your English skills.
Exactly.
I can see how that would help you internalize those sounds and rhythms.
It's also a great way to practice speaking more fluently and confidently.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're feeling really ambitious, you can even try transcribing a short segment of a podcast episode.
Whoa, that's next level active listening.
It is, but it's incredibly effective. Because by writing down every word, you're forced to pay attention to the details of the language.
Right.
The pronunciation, the grammar, the vocabulary.
Like taking a magnifying glass to the language?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that.
Cool.
Now, what about incorporating music into the learning process?
Oh, music is great.
I've always found that listening to English songs helps me pick up new words and phrases.
Yeah.
But is there a way to make it more active?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One technique is to choose a song you love and try to write down the lyrics as you hear them.
Okay.
Then you can compare your version to the actual lyrics and see how well you did.
It's like solving a musical puzzle.
It is.
I like it.
And another approach is to analyze the lyrics more deeply.
Okay.
Look up the meanings of any words or phrases you don't understand and try to identify any grammatical structures or idioms that are used.
So you're turning a song into a mini lesson on English.
Exactly.
So you're not just enjoying the music. You're actively dissecting it and learning from it.
Yeah, and it's a fun way to make language learning feel less like studying but more like a hobby.
One thing that's really impressed me as we've been going through these articles is the emphasis on community.
Oh, yeah.
They really highlight the importance of connecting with other learners and native speakers.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So it's not just about solo listening sessions with your headphones on.
Not at all.
Okay.
They recommend exploring language exchange platforms, attending online or in-person conversation groups, and even finding a language partner to practice with.
So you're turning learning into a social activity.
Exactly.
Which could be so motivating.
It is. It's a chance to not only practice your speaking and listening skills, but also to share experiences, learn about different cultures, and build friendships.
It's like turning your language learning journey into an adventure.
I love that.
With fellow travelers.
Yeah. It's a great way to think about it.
And speaking of journeys, it's important to remember that learning a language takes time and effort.
Absolutely.
There's no magic bullet or overnight solution.
Right.
One of the articles we have here uses this brilliant metaphor.
Oh, I love a good metaphor.
It compares language learning to building a house.
Okay.
You wouldn't expect to build a house in a day, right?
No.
You lay the foundation brick by brick, and gradually you see the structure taking shape.
I like that.
So patience and consistency are key.
They are. And it's about celebrating those small wins along the way.
Oh, for sure.
Like understanding a podcast episode without needing to rewind.
Total.
Or having a successful conversation with a native speaker.
Yeah.
Those moments keep you motivated and show you that you're making progress.
For sure.
And as you get more comfortable, you can gradually challenge yourself with more difficult materials.
Yeah.
Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And keep building on that foundation.
So it's a continuous process of growth and discovery.
Beautifully put.
I try.
Now, as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I want to shift gears and talk about some specific recommendations for different learning styles and goals. Because as we've discussed, finding the right resources is crucial for staying motivated and making meaningful progress.
Makes sense.
So let's dive back in.
All right, I'm ready for those tailored recommendations. Okay, so we've talked about the why. We've talked about some general strategies. But now let's get really specific about finding the perfect resources for you.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was really interesting from these articles is how much they emphasize starting at the right level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, it can be tempting to jump into something really challenging right away.
Right.
But if it's too hard, it can be super discouraging.
Totally.
It's like trying to climb Mount Everest before you've even learned how to hike.
You got to start with those little hills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to set yourself up for success, not frustration.
Right.
So let's start with our beginners again.
Okay.
What are some of those stepping stones?
So for beginners, the articles really recommend focusing on resources with clear, simple language and plenty of repetition.
Okay.
It's about building that foundational vocabulary.
All right.
And getting comfortable with the basic sounds and rhythms of English.
And we talked about English short stories for beginners earlier.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It seems like a great option for that because the stories are based on everyday situations.
Exactly. It helps you connect the language to real-life scenarios.
Right.
Makes it more relatable and easier to remember.
And don't forget about the lightning thief.
Oh, yeah.
Might seem like an unconventional choice, but the language is actually perfect for beginners.
It is, because it's written for a younger audience.
Right.
Yeah.
So sneaky education, check.
Yeah, exactly.
What about our intermediate learners?
All right, so intermediate learners, they've got the basics down.
Yeah, they're ready to climb a few more hills, metaphorically speaking.
Now it's about expanding their vocabulary, tackling more complex sentence structures, exploring different genres and styles of speaking.
One of the articles was a big fan of the Black Book of Speaking Fluent English.
Oh, yeah.
For this level. And I thought it was interesting that they focused on business English.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart choice. Because business English can be quite different from everyday conversation.
Totally.
It has its own set of vocabulary, idioms,
even
cultural norms.
So this book is kind of like a shortcut to sounding more confident and professional in a work setting.
Exactly. It's like giving them the secret handshake to the corporate world.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
And then on a totally different note, we've got Sherlock Holmes, narrated by Stephen Fry.
Oh, can't go wrong with Stephen Fry.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit biased.
Yeah, he's great.
Toward anything Stephen Fry narrates.
I know, he's got that voice.
But why is this a good pick for intermediate learners in particular?
Well, because the language is so rich and descriptive, it's a fantastic way to expand your vocabulary.
Yeah.
And Fry's diction is so clear and precise.
Right.
You really hear every nuance of the language.
It's like a mental workout.
It is.
Disguised as entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Plus, who doesn't love a good mystery?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now for our advanced learners.
Okay, so advanced learners,
Yeah.
the summit is in sight,
They're almost there.
but they still want to refine their skills.
Right.
Explore new terrain.
So what have we got for them in the world of audiobooks?
They're ready to tackle books with complex themes, diverse accents, specialized vocabulary.
They really want to push their comprehension skills to the limit.
Exactly. They're looking for that challenge.
Okay.
So one recommendation that stood out was Barbara Streisand's autobiography, My Name is Barbara. Right. Narrated by Barbara herself.
Narrated by the legend herself.
That's incredible.
It's so cool.
So it's not just about the content, which is fascinating in itself, but it's also about hearing how someone with such a long and influential career uses language.
Yes.
You know, you pick up on subtle things like their intonation,
totally,
the emphasis,
the
rhythm of their speech.
It's like getting a master class in communication.
From a seasoned pro.
Exactly.
Love it.
Okay, and then for those seeking a real linguistic Everest, there's Alchemy, a nonfiction book narrated by the author Rory Sutherland, full of thought-provoking ideas. And his British accent is really distinct and engaging.
So it's a good test for someone who wants to see how well they can follow complex arguments and keep up with a more nuanced style of speaking.
Exactly. It's like graduating from the bunny slopes to tackling a black diamond run.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears and talk about podcasts.
Okay, podcasts.
We've got a whole mountain range of options to explore here.
I love podcasts.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about them is how they cater to so many different interests and learning styles.
Right.
You can literally find podcasts on any topic imaginable.
Seriously.
And they're perfect for those moments when you just have a few minutes to spare.
Totally.
Like on your commute or while you're doing chores.
It's like having a library of knowledge and entertainment in your pocket.
Right there on your phone.
But with so many choices.
Oh, I know.
Where do you even begin?
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the articles we have here do a great job of categorizing podcasts based on what you want to achieve.
So, for example, if you're trying to improve your pronunciation, they recommend podcasts that focus on clear diction and lots of repetition.
Lots of repetition, exactly.
Like All Ears English.
Yeah, All Ears English is a great one.
Yeah.
They really break down American English pronunciation in a way that's easy to understand and apply.
And they have those transcripts too.
Yeah, the transcripts are so helpful.
Super helpful.
Especially for visual learners.
What about Learn English with Bob the Canadian?
Bob is great.
Bob's voice is so soothing.
It is like a warm blanket.
Yeah.
But don't let that fool you.
Okay.
He's a master at explaining complex concepts in a simple and engaging way.
So he's sneaky educational too.
He is. He really is.
I like it.
And he speaks slowly and clearly.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for beginners or anyone who wants to really focus on the sounds of the language.
It's like he's holding your hand as you're navigating the sometimes tricky world of English pronunciation.
Exactly. He makes you feel comfortable.
Now, what about podcasts that go beyond pronunciation? And focus on things like idioms, slang, cultural nuances.
Okay, so for that, Real Life English is a fantastic choice.
Okay.
They really delve into the way native speakers actually use the language in different contexts.
So you're not just learning vocabulary, you're learning how to use it naturally.
Yeah.
Confidently.
Like you've been speaking English your whole life.
Exactly.
And they have a great mix of hosts and guests.
Oh, cool.
So you get exposed to different accents and perspectives.
I also noticed that a few of these articles talk about the importance of listening to different dialects of English.
Yeah, that's so important.
They recommend a podcast called 5-Minute Convo.
5-Minute Convo is great.
What's special about that one?
It's a fantastic way to explore African American vernacular English, or AAVE. It has its own unique grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. And it's just a vibrant and important part of American culture.
It's like opening a window into a different world.
It is.
Within the English language.
And it helps learners understand that there isn't just one correct way to speak English.
Totally.
It's a dynamic and diverse language with many regional and cultural variations.
Okay, so we've got podcasts for pronunciation, Podcasts for slang and idioms. Podcasts for dialects.
Mm-hmm.
What about those learners who want to stay informed about current events?
Okay, so for news,
Yeah.
there are some great podcasts out there, specifically designed for English language learners.
Perfect.
One popular choice is Simple English News Daily.
Okay.
Or SN7.
Mm-hmm.
They use clear, concise language.
Okay.
And they speak at a slightly slower pace than traditional news broadcasts.
So it's like getting a news briefing.
Yeah.
Without feeling overwhelmed.
Without all the jargon.
Yeah, or the rapid-fire speech.
Right. And because they cover a wide range of topics, you're naturally expanding your vocabulary.
Right.
And getting exposed to different styles of reporting.
And if you want to do like a deeper dive into a particular news story, The Daily from the New York Times is an excellent option.
The Daily is fantastic.
They go really in depth.
They do.
On one particular story every day.
Yeah, it's a great way to really understand a complex issue.
It's like getting a crash course in current events.
Yeah.
And critical thinking all in one.
I like that.
So we've talked about podcasts that are specifically designed for English learners, but it's important to remember that any podcast that you enjoy can be a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you're passionate about history, there are podcasts for that.
History podcasts are great.
If you love true crime, there are tons of podcasts for that.
So many.
If you're a foodie,
there
are podcasts for that.
Find what you love and just listen.
It's about finding something that sparks your curiosity.
Right.
It makes you want to listen.
And the more you listen, the more you'll naturally absorb the rhythms and patterns of the language.
It's like osmosis for your ears.
Exactly.
All right, so you found your podcast.
Okay.
You're listening regularly, but how do you make sure you're actively engaging with the material?
That's where active listening comes in.
Okay.
It's about taking those extra steps.
To really internalize what you're hearing.
So more than just hitting play and zoning out.
It's got to be intentional.
Right.
So one of the simplest yet most effective techniques is taking notes while you listen.
Okay.
Jot down any new words or phrases you come across. Look them up later.
Right.
Maybe create flashcards to help you remember them.
It's like building your own personalized dictionary as you go.
Exactly.
Right.
And another great technique is shadowing.
Oh, yeah. We talked about shadowing.
Listen to a sentence or a phrase and then repeat it out loud.
Right.
Try to mimic the speaker's pronunciation and intonation.
It's like a vocal workout for your English skills.
It is. It's a great way to practice.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling really ambitious, you can even try transcribing a short segment of a podcast episode.
Whoa, that's next level.
It is, but it's so effective.
Okay.
Because by writing down every word, you're forced to pay attention to every detail of the language.
Right. The pronunciation, the grammar. Yeah, all of it.
The vocabulary.
It's like taking a language microscope to the podcast.
Okay, I'm adding transcribing to my to-do list.
Do it.
Now, what about music?
Oh, music's great for language learning.
I've always found that listening to English songs helps me pick up new words and phrases.
Yeah, me too.
But how can we make it more than just passive listening?
Okay, so one fun technique is to try writing down the lyrics as you hear them.
Okay.
And then compare your version to the actual lyrics.
Right.
And see how close you got.
It's like a musical puzzle.
It is.
I like that.
And another approach is to analyze the lyrics more deeply.
Okay.
Look up any words or phrases you don't understand. Try to identify any interesting grammatical structures or idioms.
Yeah.
Think about the overall meaning of the song.
So you're turning a song into a mini lesson on English and culture.
It makes learning feel more like a fun activity.
Right.
And less like a chore.
Okay, one last thing I want to touch on that I thought was really cool from these articles is the emphasis on community.
Oh, yeah. Community is key.
Yeah, it's not just about you and your headphones.
Right.
They really emphasize the importance of connecting with other learners.
It makes a huge difference.
And native speakers.
Huge difference.
So they recommend exploring language exchange platforms, finding a language partner to practice with, joining online or in-person conversation groups.
It's like turning language learning into a social activity.
Exactly.
It's so much more fun that way.
More fun. And you get to learn from each other's experiences.
Absolutely.
So it's a journey, but you don't have to go it alone.
You've got a whole team cheering you on.
So as you embark on this journey of learning English, remember that progress takes time and consistency.
It does.
There's no magic bullet or overnight solution.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Don't get discouraged if you hit a plateau or make mistakes. It's all part of the process.
It's like learning any new skill.
Yeah.
You have to be patient with yourself.
Be kind to yourself.
Celebrate those small wins.
Yes.
And just keep practicing.
You'll get there.
And remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process.
Have fun.
Learning English should be an enriching and rewarding experience.
Exactly.
Not a chore.
It should be something you look forward to.
So find those resources that spark your curiosity. Challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Connect with others.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, have fun.
That's it.
That's the key.
The key to success.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and happy listening.
Happy listening.